Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a glorious Oulton Park circuit here in Cheshire for this bright and sunny Easter Monday race day. We're about to get racing underway for the first time in 2019 for the Mini Challenge. Always a popular championship this. We've got a big grid of cars, lots of competitive drivers, quite a few new faces making their first steps into the racing world of the Mini Challenge. Well, my name is Andy McEwen. I'm delighted to be joined for most part of the day by David Addison. And David, I'm sure you're relishing this glorious weather here at Oulton Park as much as I am.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes, well, some slight technical problems, but we will hear from David Addison in a moment or two. He is here, I assure you, and looking forward to the opportunity to help me call this opening round of the Mini Challenge for 2019. There is Nathan Harrison, runner-up in the championship in 2018. He starts third on the grid, but he'll just be hoping to get to the end of the races here today, because 12 months ago, in rather soggier conditions, he finished 18th in race 1 and didn't finish the second race of the weekend. So for Nathan Harrison, his title bid took a severe dent right from the word go here at Oulton Park last season. Well, here today he starts on the inside of row number 2. The green car on pole position is former Ginetta and Renault Clio star Dan Zelos, with the 2008 British GT champion James Gornall alongside him on the grid. Right, we'll have another go at this, David. David, welcome to Oulton Park. Are you looking forward to this one?
I am. I'm still looking forward to it. I was when I tried to answer the question a moment ago, but yes, it is fabulous to see not only Oulton Park looking so good in these conditions, but a return to a good high-profile Easter meeting, which MSV brought in when it took over Oulton Park. But you know, it used to be a Good Friday major meeting here. Now Easter Monday has become tradition for British GT, and as you see these cars for the Mini Challenge pouring their way through Oulton Park, the place looks absolutely immaculate, doesn't it? It
does, and rather busy as well. Lots of spectators here enjoying the sunshine and set to enjoy some good racing.
Oh,
now that is Stuart Gibbs, unfortunately, who was due to start 23rd from 26 cars, but unfortunately that is now in doubt because that car has not got underway from the dummy grid onto its green flag lap. Everybody else has departed the grid. Stuart needing a bit of outside assistance from the Orange Army, the marshals, pushing him uphill, which is never easy. There's barely a flat surface though here at Oulton Park, in fairness, so quite literally an uphill struggle there for the marshals and for Stuart, who hopefully will get fired up very shortly. Here is the grid then. Dan Zelos on pole position, the 2008 British GT champion James Gornall alongside him, a season in which he won the championship partnered with pro driver John Barnes. Runner-up last year, Nathan Harrison, is on row 2 with Lewis Brown, whose best finish last year was 4th at Rockingham. Well, he starts 4th here for the first race of the season. Jack Davidson and Jack Mabin, the pair of Jacks, spelled slightly differently, but they share the 3rd row of the grid, with Ben Palmer and Rory Cuff on the 4th row of what is a very sizable entry here this weekend. Row number 5 and rounding out the top 10, Ginetta graduate Max Bird, who is familiar to the package, the GT package that is, but has not raced in minis before. Jacob Andrews alongside. Callum King and ex-VW racer Keenan Dole round out row number 6 of the grid. Then it's Lee Patterson, another former Renault Clio ace, with Richard Newman alongside him, 13th and 14th on the grid. Matthew Wilson, another VW Cup graduate, with James Lukes alongside him. Getting towards the back end of the grid now, Callum Newsham, who I suspected may have been a little further towards the sharp end. Watch for him to make some progress. Son of former BTCC racer, of course. And then we've got alongside him Lewis Gaylor, James McIntyre and Harry Gooding are the next two, ahead of Josh Stanton and George Collado. And then Stuart Gibbs was due to start 23rd. He will now have to start from the back of the grid because everybody else has overtaken him before the race even gets underway. Tom Rawlings will now therefore have the 12th row all to himself, whilst Neil Trotter and Steve King round out the grid, and Stuart Gibbs will slot in somewhere behind them. I think he got going, didn't he, David?
I don't think he did. I haven't seen him yet, nor have I seen the car arrive at the end of the pit lane. So, assuming they got him off Deer Leap, because it's, as you saw, quite steep, it may be that the car has gone to the paddock with whatever that problem is. So we will wait and see, but it's an ultra-competitive grid, this. Of course, everybody has the same base car, the same type of 2-litre Mini F56 JCW, to give it its full title. These are proper little touring cars. Drivers tell you that they're quite complicated to really get used to. Once you do, they are very rewarding indeed. And Dan Zelos, then the man on pole position, who's come from Renault Clio racing, which he didn't really start, but was there or thereabouts in the top 10. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on against James Gornall, British GT champion, single-seater gun prior to that. Nathan Harrison, we know he's very, very quick, part of the British Racing Drivers Club's Rising Stars programme. And Max Bird, you talked about moving up from Ginettas. Well, he's won here in Ginetta G40s in the past, so he knows his way around Oulton Park nicely enough. All of this, though, is all presupposing they get through Old Hall Corner safely.
Yes, which is never a guarantee. It's a very narrow circuit, is Oulton Park, and with 25 now of these identical JCWF 56 Minis about to charge into that first corner. Sometimes not all of them come out the other side, but we're hoping for a clean start and a clean race here. 20 minutes the scheduled duration for this opening round of the championship. The first 2 races today as well, so the drivers will, in theory, have that in the back of their minds, that they need to manage the car, make sure that they don't just bring back a box of bits to the garage after this first race. The team needs to be able to put a car out on the grid for the second race as well a little bit later on. And alongside that, of course, though, this is the first race for many of these drivers since last season. It's been a long old winter. You sometimes get this early season over enthusiasm, don't you, that tends to strike, but for the more experienced drivers, they are fully aware that consistency is key and you need to survive this first race. The green flag then has been waved at the back of the field. The 2019 mini challenge for the JCW class gets underway now, and who will get to Old Hall Corner first? It looks like a decent start from Zelos from pole position. Maybe not a great getaway from Nathan Harrison from the second row. He's already on the defence, but it will be Zelos from Bornal into Old Hall Corner for the first time. Slotting into third place will be Nathan Harrison. Jack Mabin seemed to get a good getaway as well. 1 or 2 on the grass, bit of contact on the exit of Old Hall Corner. And unfortunately, David, one in the barriers already.
Indeed so. So inevitably, I'm afraid, one got spat across the road. Trying to work out which one it was. Rory Cuff was involved in all of that, but the yellow flags fly. It has come out of Old Hall, but then with a bit of leaning, bounced across the grass and ended up in the barriers. So we'll pick up in a moment who it is as the race leaders then dive down towards Island Bend for the first time. There, look, a good effort being made up on the inside line. Jack Mabin tries to gain ground going through Island. They're almost 3 wide, which you can barely do around here. Also going quite strongly, you'll see in that leading group as well is Lewis Brown, number 39, a little bit wide up onto the curb. Then towards Britons for the first time, Dan Zelos, having made that good start, trying to keep everybody else at bay. Danger is they're going to have a yellow flag zone at Old Hall at the next lap, and we may even end up with the safety car here. We do. Safety car rapidly is scrambled, and so with less than a lap of racing done, our first safety car visit of the day. We've lost Matthew Wilson. Now that's elsewhere, isn't it? That was the initial incident. That was coming out of Old Hall. But we lost Matthew Wilson elsewhere. I think that might be Rory Cuff's car that's off the road. I think I said he was in strife. Well, safety car deployed. Everybody now will form into position, and we'll go again.
Oh dear, well Matthew Wilson, thankfully, is rejoining. That's the Shell hairpin, isn't it? That's an odd place to end up, on the inside of the Shell hairpin, but he did end up there. Thankfully, has got going right at the tail of the field. For him, the safety car is good news, because it means that he can catch up to the back of the Crocodile, which already has slowed down, taking notice of the safety car boards and flags. There is the safety car, which will wait to pick the leaders up. So as we sort of predicted, it's kicked off already. There is Rory Cuff, who I think is the only car that will not make it to the end of the opening lap now, not including Stuart Gibbs, who never started the race. So hopefully it should be a fairly brief safety car period as we get that car moved out of the way, and maybe 1 or 2 laps behind the pace car, then we will be racing once more. So the car's coming through then to the completion of the opening lap of the race, not quite at the sort of speed that we were hoping, but it was a great start that from Dan Zelos, and he had a reasonably clear advantage into Old Hall Corner. The trouble is now, though, any tyre temperature that they built up on the green flag lap will start to disappear. It is warm here, but these tyres need to be very warm, don't they?
And it's interesting as well, because Dan Zelos is a relative newcomer to touring car racing, saloon car racing, circuit racing in general, only done, what, 2 or 3 seasons, whereas you've got, and you made the point going through the grid, James Gornall, that's come from single-seaters, he's won in British GT, he's had a few years away, he's come back initially in club racing just to enjoy himself, but there's a wealth of experience in that car, and it'll be interesting to see when we go racing once more how the relative experience of the 2 drivers works out, because Dan Zelos, looking for a first ever outright race win here, could get all pressured into a mistake by the rather more canny James Gornall. And of course James has got a lot of race left yet. We should be able to go racing, if not at the end of this lap, then at the end of the next, so he would still have over half the race in which to apply the pressure.
Yes indeed, and James has had championship victories in BMW racing as well during that little club racing stint you referred to, in which his competitors were often very impressed with his rapid pace on cold tyres. So the first lap of the race he wasn't quite able to find a way past Dan Zelos, but he's got another opportunity now to do so on the safety car restart. It looked for a moment as if Rory Cuff's car was going to be removed without the need of a tow truck, but unfortunately it looks like the recovery vehicle is now on hand and will be required to move that car out of the way. It wasn't a particularly rapid getaway from the line for Nathan Harrison, was it? He had to get his elbows out going through Old Hall Corner and on the run down the avenue, and I think that little stack-up effect that eventually, unfortunately, led to Rory Cuff's off was sort of triggered by that. Nathan didn't get off the line well, but he has held on to that third place, so things already going better than they did 12 months ago.
Indeed, yes, but again, it's one make experience, isn't it, that helps there. He knows where to position the car, where to stick out his elbows. Down they come towards Hislops, then you've got Knickerbrook, the old right-hander that takes you up Clay Hill, and through this famous old corner, the origins of the name of which go back to long before Oulton Park even opened as a race circuit. And if you search for the Blaster Bates story online, you can listen to the naming of Knickerbrook. It's best not repeated, certainly not so early in the day, but it's a great story and it will tell you all. The fans are out in force, enjoying the weather, and Oulton Park putting a lot of effort into one of its major race meetings. So the race leader, Dan Zelos, then coming through Druids. Behind him is James Gornall. Nathan Harrison is on his toes, isn't he, there? BRDC Rising Stars badge on the rear window of the car. And Rory Cuff's car, surprisingly, is taking a bit longer than you might have anticipated to hoik out of the way. So with quite a bit of damage now it's lifted. You can see on the side, on the front, on the back. And Dan Zelos is being given a 10-second penalty for a false start. So Dan Zelos leads the way, but now he will be given a 10-second penalty for a false start. So whatever he has as a margin over James Gornall, it's not enough unless it is 10 seconds plus. So you can win by 10 seconds and 1,000th and he'll win the race. But if James Gornall now is very much in the box seat. He doesn't even have to overtake. He can just sit on his tail to the very end and inherit a win.
The trouble is that whilst Dan is not in the lead as far as the results will go, he is still physically there in front of James. So if James feels that he's quicker, he may feel that it's necessary to try and make the move. That's drama already. We can't see the jump start there, but we did comment that it was a good getaway from Zelos. Watch Harrison there, the dark-coloured car in third, having to really move across to the right-hand side of the road rapidly to defend from Davidson in the 21 car. Now let's see if we can see what happens. It's the blue car gets sideways into one car, into another, and then as others take avoidance, there's just the tiniest of tags to the tail of Rory Cuff's number 12 car, so contact with at least two other cars and the barriers would go some way, David, to explaining the amount of damage on that car.
Indeed. So just going back to Dan Zelos, it may not have been a jump, it might have been out of position, false start, so it could be that he was just slightly over the white line, as touring car drivers fell foul of recently at Brands Hatch, for example. We've also got in the pit lane, there you can see Ben Palmer, bonnet off, car going up on the jacks, but this changes the race, such as it was for him, now into a test session for later on in the day to try and get everything sorted out with that car. So big frustration, but there's confirmation that Dan Zelos is being given this penalty. And the other frustration for him now is that he's got less racing time in which to try and pull away.
Yes, indeed, because whilst the race victory may now be out of his grasp, he could, in theory, still salvage a top 10 or 12 finish if he can sort of pull out a decent margin from the midfield runners. But with now only just over 13 minutes left on the clock, and the safety car still about half a lap away at least from returning to the pit lane, he's only going to have about just over half the race, I reckon, in which to try and pull out this margin. But some real drama here early on for several drivers, and three drivers that started inside the top 10. Then obviously the penalty for Dan, and then Ben Palmer and Rory Cuff, who shared the fourth row of the grid, both in strife as well. Ben in the pit lane, Rory on the back of the flatbed truck now, though, which is good news. So hopefully we should be able to go racing once more at the end of this lap. It wasn't a terrific start either for Lewis Brown, who started fourth and dropped down into 8th position. So quite a lot of shuffling inside the top 10 on the first lap of the race. There is Ben Palmer's car. That looks fairly terminal, unfortunately. The bonnet is off. I think that's been taken off by the mechanics so that they can have easier access to the engine bay. It looks more mechanical than accident damage for Ben, so they'll be keen not only to get it out before the end of this race, but to find out what the issue is and hopefully get him back on the grid for the second race later on. But Ben is out of the car, does not appear to be going anywhere for the time being. No,
mechanics on mobile phones here, trying to ring back to base, I think, and find out what they can do next. Lights are still on the safety car. When the lights go out, of course, that's the indication that it will head for the pit lane at the end of that lap, and we'll be good to go racing once more. The cars turn their way through Druids, and we're approaching the halfway mark. So we're only retrieving one car, but it's seemingly taking quite a long time to get the track clear, which is a frustration for the drivers. So they come now down towards Lodge Corner, everybody weaving around to keep the tyre pressures up and the tyre temperature up. And you've got Dan Zelos then ahead of James Gornall at the head of the queue. Nathan Harrison runs third. In fourth place currently it is Jack Davison. In fifth now is the car of Jack Mabin, and Ben Palmer, having been in 6th place, now in the pit lane. There's also oil on the road, and the leaders come across the line. There's going to be one more lap.
Oh dear, yes, the oil, we're being told, is from turn 2 to turn 7, which is an awful lot of the circuit. Turn 2 is Cascades area, turn 7 somewhere down towards Knickerbrook, so presumably with all of the dramas on the opening lap for drivers, someone was dropping fluid.
Well, presumably it's Ben Palmer, because he's the only person that you could account for making a pit stop, so yes, he could well have rattled over a curb or gone over some debris, done the sump, and deposited oil around the lap. Now, if they're going to try and treat that, we could be here for a long, long time. Otherwise, the drivers are going to have to tiptoe round, and it's going to make the restart very leery. So now the race director has a real quandary. Do you let them go on the oil, or do you treat it and run out of time? There's the slippery surface flag.
Sort of trying to squint and see if I can see the fluid. I couldn't see it on our screens, but we assume that it is there. The slippery surface flag is out, as you say. I don't see anybody tending to it, though, so it looks as though maybe we're going to just leave it be. But I believe the car of Rory Cook is out of the way, so any reason for a further delay must be because of the oil that's been laid down on the circuit. Incredibly frustrating this, though, isn't it? The drivers have waited all winter to go racing again, and within half a lap, safety cars out, and a couple of drivers' seasons already in early strife. We've got 3 cars out of the race already. One didn't start, we did say at the start of the race that maybe these early season jitters can get to a few drivers, and a lot of these drivers, up and coming future stars of tin top sports car racing, wherever they decide to go with their careers, they've got a lot to prove, haven't they? And the first race of the season, it's a good opportunity to grab the headlines and grab people's attention.
Absolutely right, but huge frustration for Dan Zelos here that okay, you could argue he made the mistake that has given him this penalty, but he's not having any opportunity yet to make amends. We have now done 3 laps, but not a full racing one yet. This is lap 4, and still we await the race getting back underway. So on the lights out on the safety car, it would happen towards the end of the lap anyway. Down towards Lodge Corner it will come after this next right-hander. So if the lights are going to go out, it will be around about this part. Lights out, so we will go racing this time. Dan Zelos then gets the message. He will bunch up everybody, and then when he accelerates, you've got to keep accelerating. You can't go and slow, because that just creates mayhem behind, and you'd end up being in further strife with the race officials. So everybody will bunch up. Safety cars breed safety cars, however, so I think I said before the race started, it was all presupposing they got round Old Hall safely for the first time of asking. Now they're going to be at speed, and they're all in a line, so let's see what kicks off next. As the mini challenge then for 2019 is about to get back underway with just 8.5 minutes on the clock. Dan Zelos makes a good restart, accelerates through Lodge, up Deer Leap, over the timing line now, then being chased by James Gornall. Nathan Harrison third. In 4th place, Jack Davidson has dropped back a little bit, and Dan Zelos leads the way then by half a second in towards Old Hall Corner, and actually 1 or 2 a bit sleepy on the restart. Amongst them, treble 7 Keenan Dole. They're going through number 44, which is Max Bird, looking to try to gain ground down towards Cascades. So far, so good.
Yep, side by side there between Dole and Bird, but Bird backed out of the manoeuvre because he was showing the outside line down towards Cascades. But they are the 2 cars on your screen, and Bird with the white car, the second of the cars in that shot, on the attack here, trying to move up the order. For reference, on the restart, Dan Zelos' penalty will put him down to about 17th or 18th position, so that's the sort of fight back required now for the race leader on the road. But with that 10-second jump start penalty, he is going to have to get his head down now, use that clean air and try to pull away. James Gornall very much going with him, though. He is essentially the race leader by almost a second at the restart. Nathan Harrison wasn't particularly quick away from the standing start, and his safety car restart wasn't that much better either. Out of the Britain chicane goes Lewis Brown, the yellow machine, with work to do after a slightly tardy start as well. Down towards the Hislop chicane, possible overtaking opportunity, and Zelos there snatching the brakes. He really is pushing on here, isn't he? Trying to build the margin at the front of the field. It's all stacking up though here behind the 4th place man, Jack Davidson, through the right-hander at Knickerbrook. This 4-car train looks fairly tasty at the moment, doesn't it? It's difficult to overtake here at Oulton Park though. Where do you do it, David?
You have to try and force a mistake out of the guy ahead. Lodge Corner, which they're coming up to out of Druids now, that's one possible. The other is a good run through Lodge and then attack at Old Hall, but you've got to think about it and try and prise open the door. 45 there, which is coming under attack, Callum King. There are the 2 race leaders. Dan Zelos is on the verge of dropping this, isn't he? Because again, a little tiny error there. You talked about it at Hislop. Nearly happens again as the pressure is telling and the gap is coming down as well. So Dan Zelos versus James Gornall. They're absolutely nose to tail as they come over the timing line. Jiggy, James Gornall on the outside line there. there. Can he go wide in and tight out of Old Hall Corner? Let's see. Dan Zelos feeling the pressure. He leads on the road, but on corrected times he will drop down the order, of course. So James Gornall, effectively the race leader, and he's applying the pressure all the while down towards Cascades now. You still get the feeling that sooner or later that door is going to open for him.
The frustration here for Gornall, though, is that he knows he's the race leader, but the more that he gets engrossed in this battle with Zelos, the closer that Nathan Harrison may get to his tail, and then all of a sudden that, at the moment, is a fairly comfortable race lead, starts to become a little less secure. 6 minutes on the clock, just under 6 minutes left on the clock now as they go through the Shell hairpin. It's quite steeply banked, tight right-hander, and then down towards the Britain chicane. It's really single file through this part of the circuit, so no obvious overtaking opportunities for Jiggy over the curbs, through the left and the right. Looks like Harrison's getting his head down now as well in a slightly more secure third place on the road, but this is still the real battle, isn't it? Is it side by side for the lead? Not quite over Hilltop, but Jiggy showing his nose, and that's what he needs to do, isn't it? You were alluding to the fact that he needs to try and force a mistake here out of Dan by weaving around and sort of making Dan think, oh, I might be about to go for a move. That can sometimes, just that flash of colour in the wing mirrors can distract the car in front and maybe lead to an outbraking manoeuvre. If anything, though, the mistake at Nickenbrook came from Gordon. He lost the rear of the car turning in and loses a car length or so as a result.
Nathan Harrison, though, you're right, he's almost with them. 5 minutes and counting. A flying lap is at 1 minute 50 at the moment. They were doing 1:48 in qualifying, but when you're defending your race lead, at 1 minute 50 is what the race leader is doing. It is very nearly 3 for the lead. And then the battle of the Jacks for 4th place. Jack Davidson ahead of Jack Mabin. 6th is almost everybody else, with the effort coming there. Look, diving down towards Lodge from a very, very crossed up Lewis Brown, trying to find a way through, and not only is he attacking, but he's defending as well, because he's got the traffic stacked up behind him. Keenan Dole is next in the queue. The race leaders go through. The gap is 4 tenths between the top two. 1 second covers the top third. Jack Mabin gets up the inside of Jack Davidson, but to no avail. So the Jacks remain in the same order. And in the meantime, for 6th now, you've got Callum King just ahead of Lewis Brown, except that all over the grass, out of the race, goes number 39 there, which is Lewis Brown. So having looked pretty lively 2 corners ago, something has gone wrong, and that's another one parked by the side of the circuit with 4 minutes to go.
The 3 of them went into Old Hall Corner, almost 3 abreast, I spotted, so presumably something went wrong on the exit of the corner, which unfortunately has put the luckless Brown out of the race, and he now starts to drop down your order on the left-hand side of the screen. So Lewis Brown looked, based on his grid position, like he might be able to match his previous best result in the championship. Sadly, not to be. So, nose to tail for the race lead over the hill, but look how close Nathan Harrison is. The 3rd car in shot, 2nd on the road. Gornall really needs to get on with this. He looks to the outside, down towards his lots, draws alongside. There's almost a touch of wing mirrors, but Dan Zelos fends him off once again. But this is really frustrating for the man in the middle of this trio. He's having to attack and defend, and he really could do without this, couldn't he?
We're presupposing in all of this that James Gornall knows about Dan Zelos' penalty. If he doesn't, and he thinks he's in a genuine race, then life has just become very complicated. If he does know, he can just lift and make sure that Nathan Harrison can't get past him. But right now, the danger is that he makes a move, it doesn't work, and Harrison nips up past him. They're going to have time for 2 more laps out of this as they come down towards Lodge Corner. Now, they're on the boards to tell drivers that there may have been an opportunity for the information to come via radio to the 2nd place man, James Gornall. But right now, he is still focused on trying to find a way past. But Nathan Harrison, as I said early on, BRDC Rising Star, right there in 3rd place. James Gornall goes to the outside line. He won't level with him, but can he dive up the inside coming out of Old Hall? Even if he does, that's going to put him on the outside line for Cascades. Now he switches sides towards Denton's, then in the right-hand Kings, they go down the hill past the stricken car there. Dan Zelos having the race of his life, though, to be fair to him, hanging on to this race lead, defending nicely, but it is 3-1. Less than half a second covers the top 3. The road is clear just about ahead of Nathan Harrison, but now Dan Zelos making that car as wide as it possibly can be, down towards Island Bend for the 8th time.
Through the very quick left-hand, one of the fastest left-hand corners in the country. No overtaking through there, though, really. And so still Zelos hanging on corrected times. I reckon he's inside the top 10 now. About 10.9 seconds cover the top 10 cars, so slot him in right at the tail end of that front-running 10 drivers. He should be able to gain a few more positions before the end of the race, but because you made the point, David, that he's defending, that means that his lap times are not quite as rapid as they could be. Now, a lap ago, we had them side by side at this part of the circuit. On this occasion, Gornall, though he's showing his nose to the outside line, is not close enough to draw fully alongside the race leader. And so they stay single file through the Hislop chicane on this, the penultimate lap of the first race of the season. What's been an enthralling first race of the season. Dan Zelos certainly has provided lots of entertainment here, and he would like to win this race on the road, just to sort of prove that I could have won this race. Had it not been for the penalty, I deserved the victory. And there's always the chance that they might be able to argue the toss later on. So he'll be keen to keep his elbows out here, keep Gornall and Harrison at bay. Onto the grass goes the number 47 car there. That's James McIntyre. That's down at the Hislop chicane. Down to Lodge though for the penultimate time. There's a gap up the inside. Is there? There's almost a touch, but Dan Zelos just about got the door closed in time there. Now that's held up Gornall on the exit of the corner and almost allowed Nathan Harrison alongside. Still no way through though.
Over the timing line, so they have got less than a lap time left in the race. Last lap, then it's 3 for the lead. James Gornall is quicker, going through Old Hall corner. Wide goes Zelos. That's Gornall's chance, and he's done it even before Denton's. That was the mistake that's been in the post since the green flag. And Zelos loses second place as well to Nathan Harrison. So he did all the hard work in defending one tiny little slip. It was always going to come seemingly with the pressure being applied. And so Dan Zelos falls to third place on the road, plus the 10 seconds. And now James Gornall, look released, is starting to build that advantage. And you get the feeling, don't you, that he was just biding his time, working out where Zelos was looking strong, where he was looking a bit nervous. The pressure was applied. Last lap, go for it, and it's worked. This is what happened.
Yeah, turns into the corner. I think the rear steps out a little, doesn't it? Yes, there it is. Gets all crossed up. It was a decent save, actually, that for Dan. But he just ran out of road, out over the AstroTurf and the grasscrete on the exit of the corner, and straight through went Gornall. And Nathan Harrison needed no second invitation either. Had the extra momentum down the Denton's kink and went straight through. And as you said, James Gornall now making good his escape. It's unlikely, I think, that Zelos is going to gain any more positions on corrected times either. He would need another 2.5 seconds or so to get into a ninth position at the expense of Lee Patterson. So third on the road, but 10th place, I reckon, in reality, for the erstwhile race leader. Over Clay Hill we go, though, for the final time of asking. And James Gornall will be well chuffed with this. He dipped his toe in the championship last year, did a few rounds towards the end of the season, was immediately on the pace. But as David alluded to earlier on, these cars can take a bit of learning. He had those few rounds last year to learn them and has arrived in 2019 as a genuine championship contender, and he will be your early championship leader as well, because the victory in the first round of the Mini Challenge JCW class here at Oulton Park goes to Jiggy. James Gornall takes the checkered flag, with second place going to Nathan Harrison, the runner-up in the 2018 championship. Now Zelos is third on the road, but third in the actual standings will be Jack Mabin, who won the Battle of the Jacks in the end, with Callum King in fact coming home next, fifth on the road. Then it's Max Birdley, Patterson, Keenan Dole, and the number 20 car of Richard Newman. And I reckon it will be after Newman fell back towards the end, so there's a possibility that Zelos might have gained another place on the final lap, despite ironically losing a couple of places on the road. But a brilliant drive, that one from James Gornall. I think you summed it up best. He timed that perfectly, knew what he had to do, and it all came good just under a lap away from the flag.
All the experience, didn't it? You know, you could see there there was pressure being applied. He had a look at Druids, he had a look at Lodge, he had a look here and there, and was working out where Dan Zelos was going to be strong. He tried that move at Old Hall in the past just to see whether he could unsettle him, but it all came good on that last lap. And you could argue that James Gornall ought to be winning these races because of what he's achieved in the past. You don't win the British GT Championship, certainly not the year he won it by being a dummy, but he's up against a lot of very, very good front-wheel drive touring car drivers. But that was a great drive, and so James Gornall wins in the end by 7/10 of a second from Nathan Harrison, and Dan Zelos third over the line. But you put the penalty on him, and so he's going to fall back into probably about 9th place.
Yeah, I think he did just enough, didn't he, to get ahead of the Richard Newman car, who presumably had a drama. His last lap time not particularly rapid, but a very, very entertaining start to proceedings here at Oulton Park, and the drama began right from the word go. There is confirmation then of your result. Gornall the victor by 7/10 from Harrison in second. Dan Zelos third on the road, but we know with that 10-second penalty he will actually drop a little bit further down. Jack Mabin therefore presumably will inherit a podium, with Callum King just missing out. Then it's Max Birdley, Patterson, Keenan Dole, and then Richard Newman in 9th position. 10th place goes the way of the Jack Andrews car. Then it is Callum Newton. Now he did some overtaking in that race, didn't he? Started 17th, got to 11th in the end ahead of Lewis Gaylor and the rest. We lost a few, unfortunately. Lewis Brown we saw off in the closing stages of the race. Ben Palmer in the pit lane. Rory Cuff was off on the first lap, and Stuart Gibbs' race never got going.
Jack Davison as well, who was 5th on the grid, he was another retirement we didn't see, so I think he might have been involved in that three-way battle. But this is how it all began. It's that good start by Dan Zielos, but too good, said the officials. It was a full start, so the penalty would soon come. But the first drama was Rory Cuff bouncing like a pinball from one car to another. I think the damage had already been done, but then he got another tap in the tail, around he went, wallop into the wall. So that in turn would bring out the safety car. Everybody had to form back up behind it, and it was Dan Zielos that led when the green flags fluttered, eventually into effectively just the second half of the race. Plenty of other battles needed to be resolved. Nathan Harrison was one of those, inching his way forward. So too was Jack Mabin. But up front, it was James Gornall crawling all over the back of Dan Zielos. As the two squabbled, into the mix came Nathan Harrison. Zielos managed to hang on, but only just, with, in the end, a mistake being made at Old Hall Corner. As he went sideways, it was James Gornall that took over the race lead, and it was a lead he was never to lose. Great action for the Minis. We'll be back at Oulton for more later on.